you went on to found a company called Apigee
Yes.
that had pretty storied Silicon Valley story. Tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us about how it related to your experience at with the Apple crowd, and how it affected the way you created that company.
Apigee was great. It was actually a company called Sonoma Systems that I inherited, and we had no revenue and no product. I started, and it was a year later. I started in 2007. A year later, the market cratered. And so it was really interesting. Our pipeline went from, we had financial services companies in our pipeline, and it went to zero, just like zero. Like I had the honor of raising money between Bear Stearns failing and Lehman Brothers failing. So that was think about that, right? I mean, your Bear Stearns has failed and Lehman has not failed yet. And I was raising money the summer of 2008. It was a great experience, by the way. You cannot write it better than that, right? So we did that. We realized that our business was not heading in the right direction after the 2008 thing. I took the correction as a massive gift, like I always do, because it gets a chance to rethink how you think about your business. And we kind of like pivoted the company. We started a project called Apigee, and then we named the company Apigee. Hence even though I was not a founder of Sonoma, I definitely was a founder of Apigee. And there were two things that I always look for. What I would, some people call it PMF. I keep calling it like, what is the bigger trend you're attaching yourself to? What's the wave that you're attaching yourself to? And what happened in 2008, 2009 was the iPhone came out, and it started to change everybody's personal life. And our perspective was going to change the way companies think about their customers. And so we started talking about APIs because people had to go and do a lot of things with APIs because APIs were a manifestation of your backend, and they wanted to go off and create apps. So we said, let's go off and make that happen. So we attached ourselves first to the mobile revolution, but then it became the digital transformation of enterprises, which, by the way, is a 20-year cycle. It's not done yet. It's still happening, right? It started with mobile, went down to cloud, and the next one's going to be AI and ML, right? And so we actually just make sure we held on really tight, and the company took off in spades because it wasn't about APIs only, even though that's the product we were selling. It was about people transforming their companies based on APIs that they were using in the cloud. They were using mobile apps. So we were outrageously successful. We went public. Google bought us, right? And there was a long list of companies that were very interested. We were very interested in Google, even though they were the last company to show up. Spent 3 years at Google. It was a phenomenal experience. But the most important thing about the Apigee experience for me was, we had 60% of Times Square real estate when we went public. A bunch of people made a lot of money, all that stuff. But the two most interesting things for me was that we affected people's trajectory in the enterprises they work for, right? It's been a while since I've been. Apigee will always be my baby, but I've at Google and somebody else is running it. Even now, right? I will talk to CIOs and CTOs, and they're like, "We love what you created." I'm like, that to me is like awesome. And the second thing is, you don't remember your bank balance when you're done. What you remember is who you were with when you were, and the stories, right? I mean, how each other smelled and what you did and the good stuff. Those are the memories are not about I made X. Obviously that matters, but what matters is how did you impact the world? That was number one. And the second thing is, who did you do it with? Right. And that to me has always stuck through everything that we did with Apigee. So sorry, go ahead. What's the question?
Yeah, that's true. It's about the human beings, right? And what do they say? People don't remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's
absolutely.
But one of the things I want to go back to a little bit is that what were you doing with your firm, and how did you motivate your employees, or how did you instill confidence when you were at zero, right? Like I mean, you were at the bottom. The world was blowing up. The market was down 40%. People didn't know if it would go down another 40%. I mean, people don't remember that it stopped at 40%, but there was a lot of us that thought, well, geez, it could keep going.
Yeah.
How did that affect the culture of the company as you grew?
There was a point, I don't talk about this very often. There was a point when this was happening when we actually created a DEFCON list, right? And who would, literally with the leadership team, who would get fired when, depending on how the company and the world around us did, and who would be the last person closing the doors. We actually had a list with people's names on it, right? This was the DEFCON list, and people who were there still remember it, and we talk about it. But what that did really interesting for us is, it made us believe in each other and the cause. And like we were talking about before the show, my big, somebody asked me a long time ago, he asked me a question: what differentiates you, right? What do you think is unique about you? And you cannot say, I'm hardworking, integrity and teamwork and all that, right? Those are table stakes, not skills. And I thought about it long and hard, right? I mean, pausing for 30 seconds is a long time. And my response was, I believe before almost anybody else I know. And so if you can believe in the concept, right? And then you can inspire the people around you. Now you have only one step left, which is execute, right? And deliver. But if you can do the believe, inspire, execution in that order all the time, it's been my mantra for a long time, right? I just between my 2 years believe in it? And if I do, can I inspire other people to believe in it as much or as close to how much I believe in it? And if I can get that too, then I think I can execute and actually get there. So we use the same. I've been using the formula forever. It starts with me, then there are other people, and then we go from there, right? So it was we believed in each other, and we believed in what we were trying to, how we were trying to impact the world. There's one other thing, Dan, that actually matters, right? It is, and this may be related to your podcast, which is, you cannot just say you are doing this because you want to make money, right? You cannot just, startups are lucrative and they make a lot of money and good things happen and all that stuff is awesome. Everybody should be thinking about their family, the next generation, all that stuff is good. But I am a hopeless romantic when it comes to doing startups. You have to believe that you're trying to change the world. And if you don't believe that, there are so many dark days in a startup that you will give up. There are far better ways to make money, in my opinion. Far better ways to make money. You have to really love it. It's like, that chef, the restaurant owner, like, you're doing this for 2% margins. Yeah, because I love cooking, right? And that's exactly what lands up happening in the tech world. But you have to have a bigger motivation.